where we review all the best sports clips from around the country. Now you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of over there? Because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They talk about this all the time. They think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter. They don't read any of the comments. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing, then definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and it's turning into something truly special. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing that. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of First Things First talking about, is the hype surrounding Brock Purdy too high? This has been such a fascinating conversation to me. It really, really has been, because I've been thinking about this more than I have been all season, honestly, because I only started making these videos really a month and a half ago, if that. So I've been more, more intentional with how I've been thinking about the season and how things have been unfolding. And this whole Purdy mania has been just wild to me. And the hype around Purdy, what I'm noticing is this: there's such a divide in the media, but with the fans, it's like unconditional. The fans, I've met maybe like one or two that I can think of, fans that are like, yeah, Purdy's pretty good, but he's not this amazing elite special thing. The vast majority of fans, all up in the comments for all the videos that I've made with regards to Purdy, they're all telling me that Purdy is the best. He is him. He is elite. He is, the future for the 49ers, and if not, the entire NFL. They are obsessed. So it's really fascinating for me to kind of see this conversation unfold. I believe we're going to see, obviously, Nick Wright and Greg Jennings be like, settle down on Purdy, but then you're going to have Brew talk about how amazing Purdy is. So I'm curious to see how, what points they bring up, because I have a big point that I want to bring up, because people were asking me, what does Purdy need to do to prove that he is elite or, really important to this team? And I have an example that I'm really excited to use, and it involves a very unlikely Super Bowl winner.
What is he doing?
What did he say?
Yeah, Joe. He said he's not at all comparing him to Joe Montana.
What he mentioned Joe Montana, but he has a lot of the traits.
Yeah.
Now we have Rex Ryan, a great
Rex
defensive
Ryan,
line.
we're going to quote.
Hold on. Rex Ryan was a very good coach and a great defensive coach.
Okay.
I'm just saying, we got Rex Ryan, and now we have a DC defensive coordinator for one of the final four teams in the NFL, also played cornerback in the league, saying Joe Montana.
Yeah, same thing they said about Jimmy
Comparing Brock. No, I didn't. Really?
Winner.
Jimmy Garoppolo was compared to Joe Montana?
100. Go ahead. Sorry, I'll let you finish.
All right, here's what I will say. I'm not going to compare him to Joe Montana. But what I'm going to say is this. Joe Montana did not become Joe Montana until he was Joe Montana. You can follow me. You know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, but I
disagree.
You
don't become the legend until you become the legend.
Pretty legendary at Notre Dame.
Really?
Yeah,
really?
He
was a third-round draft pick. He had 25 touchdowns and 25 interceptions at Notre Dame. And he was never like All-American or anything like that.
Yeah, he was ready to roll that. He just knew that off the top of his head. That's pretty good.
He doesn't have one of the most iconic college football moments at Notre Dame.
Moments, but I'm talking about careers.
Okay.
A lot of people got moments. I want to have a career. Okay. And his career at Notre Dame wasn't all that. Because when he stepped in the league, and y'all didn't see him because you're younger than me. I'm not even trying to insult. I saw the guy that he sat behind for his first year and a half, Steve DeBerg. Yeah. He wasn't all that. All right, but Montana came in, was 2-6 in his first 8 starts. In fact, in the catch game,
he was terrible.
Before the catch, by Dwight Clark that led them to the Super Bowl against the Cowboys. He threw 3 interceptions and fumbled once. They didn't lose the fumble, but he had a fumble.
No, you're not comparing.
No, my point is this.
Talk right now.
No one thought Joe Montana was going to be a legend. No one thought Tom Brady was going to be a legend. Some guys come in with greatness, Trevor Lawrence, and some of them live up to it. But others, it just happens. And I'm just saying this guy is in the midst of, at this point, his career has been special. At this point.
Okay, so this is
his second year, Nick. Hold on, second year, he's in the MVP. We forget how young he is.
No, we don't.
People talk about him like he's a 9-year veteran.
No, we don't.
Really?
Really. This is my frustration.
He's younger than Jordan
The
Love.
Purdy folks want it both ways. I didn't know that. This is, I think, my and Greg's frustration. The Purdy folks want to be able to say he reminds us of Joe Montana.
Yeah.
The beat writer for the Niners say Breeze's accuracy with Lamar's athleticism. Do blind comps?
Really?
Yeah, we showed you the tweet on their
Lamar's
show
athleticism?
because of his 10-yard split time. But set it aside.
That's
we showed
insane.
we showed it on the show. We do blind reveals of Purdy versus Tom Brady. Say he's in the MVP discussion. They want to be able to say all those things and then also be able to say, oh, but I'm not saying he's elite.
Exactly.
I'm not saying he's great. I'm not comparing him. I'm not doing any of those things. They want all of we're giving him all the credit with none of the receipts attached of, do you think the guy is good?
That's not a receipt. Well, everybody thinks he's good.
No, I think so. Greg did something I thought courageous today, because Greg made a list.
Yes, I did.
And can we show Greg's list? Because I think Greg gave Purdy more of a benefit of the doubt than I would have.
All right, hold on. This is a little. Let's zoom in. He's got Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar, Stroud ahead of Allen. Get the heck out of here. Dak all the way up there. Get the heck out of here. Herbert, Goff, Stafford, Rodgers, Cousins, Hurts, Love, Lawrence, Murray, Purdy. Ooh, a lot of people are going to be upset with that. I want to unpack this list in a different video, honestly. I mean, but there's no way Dak is number 6. That's actually the big. I actually take the bigger issue with that than anything else, quite honestly, because Dak can only play good against bad teams. He has a losing record against winning teams. So if you have a losing record against winning teams, and not only that, but your stats are also bad, right? It's not just you playing great, but you're just not getting wins because of defense and stuff. Your stats are actually bad. Oh gosh. But anyway, focusing on Purdy being 16th there, people are going to be mad about that. Especially the 49ers fans, because they believe Purdy to be better than Stroud. They believe him to be better than Allen. They believe him to be better than Dak, Herbert, Goff, Stafford. I don't know if they think he's better than Rodgers, but they definitely think he's better than Cousins, Hurts, Love, Lawrence, and Murray. So I think I've had a lot of people recently tell me, they kind of think Purdy's pretty much like the second best quarterback under Mahomes. Because they say, what has Burrow done? Burrow has made it to the Super Bowl and he's never done anything since then. What has Lamar done? Lamar's never been to the Super Bowl. Stroud is, I guess, maybe a little bit more difficult to evaluate because he's brand new, but they would say, look what the success Purdy had. Purdy has gone to 2 NFC championship games, and Stroud hasn't even been to 1. And same thing with Allen. They'll point out Allen. What has Allen been able to do? Dak obviously never been to an NFC championship game. And obviously Stroud has to go to an AFC championship game. Herbert, they're saying, what has he done? He's never done anything in the playoffs. Goff has made it to a Super Bowl, but it had nothing to do with him. That was Sean McVay. Stafford won a Super Bowl. Rodgers Super Bowl. Cousins, I think people would freak out if you say that Cousins is better than Purdy. Hurts, they'll say, okay, wow, he had one good year and went to the Super Bowl, but he lost. Well, how did he do this year, huh? How did he do this year? And my comeback to that is, the offense and defensive coordinators were both fired, and the head coach should probably be fired. That had nothing to do with Hurts. That had very little to do with Hurts, I should say. You need to have a good coordinator. You need to have good coaches. Do not tell me that you think Purdy would be lighting the NFL on fire if he was drafted by the Jaguars, okay? Or if he was drafted by the Panthers. Just save it, because he wouldn't be. Purdy has benefited so greatly by having all the elite weapons, Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Ayuk, Debo, and Shanahan to tie it all together. This is how delusional a lot of these 49ers fans are. And if you've only seen, if this is like your first video of you seeing me, you're going to probably call me a Purdy hater. And I don't have the strength to go through all the reasons why I think Purdy is actually a good quarterback. I've said repeatedly that I think Purdy is a really good quarterback. So stop telling me that I'm a Purdy hater, because I am not. He is a good quarterback. And dare I say, maybe one day will be great, okay? But he is not that today. That is a fact. That is just an undeniable fact. He is not that right now. And now, I literally talked to someone today in the comments, today or yesterday. They were trying to tell me it's Shanahan's fault. Purdy would be even better, but it's Shanahan's play calling. That Shanahan isn't an elite coach. Do you guys know how insane that sounds? They want to tell me that Shanahan isn't one of the top coaches in the NFL. That's literally what people in the comments told me. That Shanahan is not one of the best coaches in the NFL. And they're like, where's his Super Bowls? And I'm like, that is the dumbest thing ever. It took Andy Reid 20 years to win a Super Bowl. Okay? Multiple Super Bowls for that matter. So this idea, like, you don't judge greatness just based off of Super Bowls. Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL. He only has one Super Bowl. Okay? Dan Marino, we know, is one of the best Super Bowls ever in the history of the world. Has no Super Bowls, right? He's obviously the go-to example for that. So you don't judge greatness just based off of whether or not you won a Super Bowl or how long it took you to win a Super Bowl. Because Andy Reid is one of the best coaches in the history of the NFL, and it took him 20 years to win a Super Bowl, okay? He became a head coach in 1999 and then didn't win a Super Bowl until 2019. So that's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard. So that's how delusional we're talking about here with some of these things, and it's really absurd to me, and I really don't get it.
You wouldn't even have him 16th?
Well, Greg has him ahead of the following guys who I think are worth a discussion: Derek Carr, Tua, Russ, and Baker.
Tua.
I think they're all okay, but Greg, you gave him every tie. Every tie went to him, and the problem is for me. Is the biggest Purdy defenders who make us talk about Joe Montana and league MVP, if put to the test, might pick two guys on that list they think he's actually better than.
Yeah, I think, and I think real fast what I'll just say is so people can ask me, people want to ask me, where do I think Purdy is on this list? Let's just say that this is, because I think Purdy is better than Baker Mayfield and Russell Wilson at this point in his career and stuff like that. Lawrence has had really unfortunate luck with some injuries and things like that, and I think he started to get pretty good and right the ship with Doug Peterson, but then that things kind of got a little squirrely because he then got really injured. He got like 4 different injuries, but continued to play, and so obviously he didn't play well, and so now people are like, see, Lawrence isn't that good, and it's like, guys, injuries are a real thing. Injuries affect how you play, so I kind of think there's still a gigantic question mark around Lawrence. Love, to me, has shown just to have a higher ceiling than Purdy. He showed me more wow moments that you're really like, whoa. Once Love has a little bit more experience under his belt and, his weapons around him can grow, he will be better. Love would have had an even better season this season if he got to throw to Christian McCaffrey and Ayuk and Debo and, Kittle and stuff like that, okay? Instead, he was throwing to other, like, first and second year players. That matters. He doesn't have these seasoned vets all around him. That matters. Excuse me. I think Cousins is actually a really good comparison for Purdy right now. Cousins is a really, really solid quarterback who can make really, really great throws and can come up huge in really big moments. And and if you really stack a team around him, he could probably win a Super Bowl. But he can't be the reason you win a Super Bowl, okay? I think Cousins could win a Super Bowl if you put him on a roster in years past, like that the Chiefs have had, or like the Eagles had last season specifically, or maybe even like the 2017 year, or the 49ers, in any of the Garoppolo years or the Purdy years. So I would say that, that's Cousins is good enough, especially when you have enough pieces around him. Herbert has never been given a chance to truly shine, as his team has always been banged up and he's had no true offensive minds, except the one year he did. It was Steichen, and it was a match made in heaven and did unbelievable. So soon Herbert is going to be elite, especially with Harbaugh now. So that's kind of what I'm looking at here with regards to that. I'm not so interested in trying to like put these people in a certain order, because that would just be too messy right now with all these things, because Dak is not that high. Like I've already mentioned, I think Dak and Cousins are very similar. They really are. I think Dak is just cooler looking. He's just a little bit cooler. So people and so it looks like he's flashier and better. And Cousins is, just like kind of a more generic, less mobile, white looking dude, so like just the coolness factor is just not cool, right? And Dak's like more sharp and cool and plays for the Dallas Cowboys and that. Cousins has played for the Washington Commanders and the Minnesota Vikings, hardly the coolest teams around. So I think that is what makes the average casual fan or kid, no kid is like, I love Cousins, he's my favorite, but plenty of people say Dak's the man, he's so cool, he's awesome. It's just different. It's just different energy that you put out there. And so with Purdy, I really think Purdy, Cousins, and Dak are such a perfect comparison, comp, because I think all three of them can show signs of doing really, really great things and have moments where you're like, whoa, that was awesome. But they don't have the ability to consistently do it. They need the weapons around them. They need the CD Lambs. They need the I can't think of the big wide receivers for Cousins right now, slipping my mind. But they need the Christian McCaffreys and the Deebo Samuels and those players. They need those, and they need good offensive coaches to really get the best out of them. Okay, that's what they need, and yet they can't do it so consistently where it happens more times than not. And when they play really good defenses or really good teams, they shrink and they don't necessarily excel, or at least they don't excel consistently enough to really make you be like, that guy can lead us to victory. That guy, we can get on his back. When the Cowboys say, Dak, please lead us to victory, he really struggles. When the Vikings or Commanders or whoever say, Cousins, please lead us to victory, they can't. He doesn't thrive in that. When they go to Mahomes and say, lead us to victory, they can. When they go to Burrow, lead us to victory, he can. Lamar, yes. Stroud, yes. Allen, yes. Herbert, yes. Goff, I don't know. Goff has had a very tricky career to evaluate. Stafford, yes. Rodgers, yes. Love hasn't necessarily been given that chance yet, but to a degree, I would say yes. Hurts, undeniably, has already proven that going to the Super Bowl. Murray, absolutely, undeniably. Lawrence, I don't know, because one of the times that he had where he had to put the team on his back, he was also the direct cause why he had to put them on his back. So again, to me, it's a big question mark with Lawrence. Purdy has not done that yet. And so to me, that is the biggest argument. So the real question is people ask me, what does Purdy have to do to prove that he is elite? This is my answer. He needs to just ball out once at the very least, like what Nick Foles did in the Super Bowl. Really, the last two games against the Minnesota Vikings and the Patriots, both the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. He lit it up, okay? And you could point, that's why Nick Foles was the MVP of the Super Bowl. He was making the most amazing throws, the most amazing reads, trick plays, catching a touchdown on the 4th down trick play in the Super Bowl. The Eagles won that game because of Nick Foles, okay? He made some of the most unbelievable throws that when you watch the game to this day are still scary, that your heart's still beating because you were just like, oh my God, I don't believe that. The team called upon him and said, get us to victory, and he did. And he's done it multiple times in the playoffs, his last game, I think, for the Eagles would have been another comeback win, but the wide receiver there, Alshon Jeffrey at the time, let the ball just go right between his hands, whatever, and it got like intercepted or whatever. I think it ended up being intercepted, which was no fault of him. He was literally going to lead the Eagles again back to the NFC Championship game. And his first run with the Eagles, he led a comeback win and left the field winning against the New Orleans Saints, but the defense gave it up at the very end and they kicked a field goal to win the game. Okay, So even Nick Foles has been like, get on my back and I can lead you to victory. Now, Nick Foles has proven that he wasn't able to do it all the time, which is why his career was not of this elite level. But he had many, many games. And guess what, guys? This is the reality. This is the reality. And it's undeniably true. Nick Foles has had more elite games, and of get on my back, let's go, than Brock Purdy has ever had. It's undeniable. Because again, Nick Foles is literally a Super Bowl MVP. Okay? You can't argue that. So until Brock Purdy can at the very least have as many elite games as Nick Foles, a backup quarterback, probably whatever is between a backup quarterback and a starting quarterback. He's like an in-betweener, honestly. That, until Brock Purdy can prove that he has more of those games in him, then that is what will, prove to me that Brock Purdy is actually elite. That is really the best way I can explain it.
Might pick 2. So that's
what is that? Like, people aren't sitting, most people when they talk about Brock Purdy aren't making a list of who he's better than. They're just saying, look, this dude is dealing. Look at his numbers. Look at his wins. That's what they're saying. And again, Nick, he's going to get better. Like, he's only in his second year. He's 24 years old. He's got less experience than Jordan Love. Hasn't even started 2 full seasons, but we talk about him, like I said, like he's a 9-year vet. This dude is doing something nice.
And this is why the hype surrounding Brock Purdy ends up being a little too high, because all that you're doing right now, you're celebrating all of who he is, but still unwilling to truly go out on a limb and say, but he's one of the best. And when we put him in the MVP conversation, the reason why he's in the MVP conversation is because he's on a really good team and he's the quarterback of that team and he's producing numbers. If we were to sit here and say, is Brock Purdy the most valuable player on that team? You cannot, with your heart in your heart of hearts.
But that's not what the award is. It's a quarterback award. We know that.
Okay.
Well, but his running back is nominated for it alongside him.
This is why I have an issue with the hype, because, and I keep saying this, it's like we don't know. This was you.
What?
When Jimmy Garoppolo was
No,
the
it wasn't.
quarterback.
No, I never, Nick, you know this. I never said Jimmy Garoppolo should even have made a Pro Bowl.
But
I
it's
never
the same
ever
to
even
me,
said it. Brock Purdy, I said should be MVP. How's that the same thing?
It is on steroids. But it was the same type of, in my opinion, rhetorical tricks of, I'm not saying he's Joe Montana, but here's my favorite graphic in the world that became a running gag on the show, Dusty the Graphic, where he's alongside Joe Montana. And instead of...
That's just called a fact.
Right, exactly.
I mean, that's called a fact.
Right, and so here's the question I have. What is the argument that exists right now that Brock Purdy is clearly better than Tua? What is it?
I think his eye test.
Okay, I do
but
too.
Statistically,
so
I don't
why
know
is
what
that
you
allowed? Why is it allowed to say, eye test tells me he's better than Tua, but I can't say eye test tells me he's worse than Jordan Love?
Hold on, Nick, there's more. He's got 3 playoff wins and 3 starts and finishes. How many's Tua got?
Hold on, but so that's where the team stuff does matter.
You know what? There's another one.
Does anyone
against ball?
So do you think that if Brock Purdy was a starting quarterback,
that's where team stuff matters? But he's unwilling to ever concede that about Josh Allen and the Bills versus the Chiefs. Seems pretty convenient.
For the Dolphins this year, they would have been better, worse, the same.
I don't traffic in hypotheticals like this.
But then
I'm just going by what the dude is doing on the field. I don't know what Brock Purdy would be elsewhere. I know what he is in San Francisco, and it's pretty good.
He's a really good.
That's what I'm saying.
Right,
he's perfect. When it comes to quarterbacks, look, Jared Goff, those guys, much bigger arm, taller, statuesque, all that. See over the line of script, the offensive lineman, defensive lineman, all that. But I'm a big intangibles guy when it comes to quarterback, because what made Tom Brady, Joe Montana the best, 2 of the best ever? Intangibles. And this guy has intangibles. I don't know how great he'll end up being, or even if he'll.
Yeah, but that's not what people are talking about. in terms of when they talk about Purdy being so elite and amazing, they're not talking about intangibles. They're talking about his skill. They're talking about his arm and his ability to read defenses and pre-snap reads and all this type of stuff, his decision making, all this, not his leadership or these other, intangibles. So it's just, that's not the argument. Maybe that's part of the argument for Brew, but that is not what the vast majority of super fans of Purdy are saying. But so what do you guys all think? Do you think that the hype surrounding Brock is too high or not high enough? I would love to hear your thoughts on this one. I want to know what you guys think about what I said about what Purdy has to do to prove that he's elite. I really would love to hear your feedback on that one. So please let me know in the comments below. Please don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and it's turning into something truly special, and I would love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really helps with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.